Scotland. A land of stories whispered on the wind, carried by the waves that crash on the shore. City lights, country roads, misty mornings by the coast. Each photograph is a poem, each journey a diary of Scotland as we alone have seen it. There is no friend as loyal as a book or a song, and with every friendly face you meet, a new tale to be told, a new wonder to behold, a chance to be bold, to tread lightly and protect this place for future stories to come. So gather round and listen in. It's time for this story to begin. 2022 is Scotland's year of stories. Come and discover your own tale of Scotland.
Gurf manam is meidal, hai jed o glan na gara, far na groig mar an thor, is na poger vlas miala, o hi o hi o, hi-di-di huelje, o hi-di-di-di o yalvo. Stua sher don tikjesha, jina hesser halu. Stua sher don tikuli, jina hula mieru. Oh hi oh, oh hi oh, hi-di-di huelja, oh hi-di-di oh yalvo. Stua sher don tikosen, is brok hokrok nambaral, kotoluna na jufgrom, spina krunchan gachanach, oh hi oh, oh hi oh, hi-di-di huelja, oh hi-di-di oh yalvo. Vim o Chrisa dun eten, smo vreja dun halling, as she croas a wedding, agus curry a gallof, oh hi oh, o hi o hi hwylio o hi o yalvo Sanna vishin ganarach Bonairian brairaniach An a bohan na tugri Sponet gudwunda bachanach O hi o hi o hi hwylio o hi o yalvo Spina kuchan sa smudan trun i'r chwyn craniaf ag dofdan ag fwra dwsgach salading o hi o hi hi hwylio o hi o yalvo
Good evening. My name is Teri Loretto from CBC Television and Radio, and also from here, Algonquin College. Welcome to the Scottish Society of Ottawa's Robbie Burns Supper, the virtual edition. Welcome, Falche. From Long Regend to Airdrie to Glasgow, to a ship to New Zealand, where my mum Donna Reid was born. From that New Zealand home to Australia, to Montreal, and now to here. That is where my family originated. For each and every leg of the journey of the Reid family, this wee book came with it. And you may not recognize it, but this tiny book has followed that branch of my family for generations, from pops to granddad to mum to me, and one day to my son. This is the poems of Robbie Burns. And speaking of poetry and Robbie Burns and Scotland, tonight, in celebration of the birth of the Bard of Ayrshire, the traditional Burns supper full of speeches, poetry, music, song, dance, followed by a ceilidh, doesn't get much better than that, will be following the traditional running order of the Burns supper around the world. And so expect about an hour and a half of Scottish cheer. So hold off on that Scotch for a little bit, because you're going to want to pay attention for at least the next hour. As I said earlier, the Scottish Society of Ottawa is our host. The Society is celebrating a decade of bringing people together to enjoy Scottish culture and presenting events in Scottawa. If you haven't heard that one yet, it's brilliant. There are so many partners and sponsors who make this evening possible, and the Scottish Society of Ottawa would particularly like to thank our partners. That's the Scottish Government and the Cameron Highlanders of Ottawa, Duke of Edinburgh's own, and our sponsors, the Province of Ontario, Bell Media, McEwen Petroleum, the Scottish and Irish Store, and RJW Stonemasons. We would also like to thank you, the viewers, the people who are tuning in, and supporters and friends of the Society. By the way, donations are always welcome. There's a link for you if you would like to donate some change. Please use it. The Scottish Society adopted a theme of nature this year in keeping with the Scotland Burns celebration theme and our general increased connection with nature through this pandemic. Of course, this would have been more special if it were actually in person, as it was planned, at the Museum of Nature in our capital city of Canada. So we hope you will appreciate the added touches throughout this presentation. I also hope that you're enjoying a wee dram and perhaps an appetizer, all part of the reason why we love the Burns supper. Let's get this night started. Well, it's already started, of course. We just saw some beautiful views of Scotland, and we listened to the pipes and drums of the Cameron Highlanders of Ottawa under the direction of Pipe Major Alan Clark. And we also heard the lovely voice of Ellen McIsaac, director of the Ottawa Celtic Choir. Because of COVID, the choir could not participate together, so Ellen agreed to sing solo for the evening. Thank you, Ellen. Next up, we're going to hear from some more amazing people. Jane Torrance. Jane is the chair of the Scottish Society of Ottawa. She's also the Burns Supper chairman. Jane, a few words.
Hello, good evening, welcome. Falcha. My name is Jane Torrance and I'm the chair of the Scottish Society. Happy Burns Night. The Scottish Society connects, preserves, and promotes Scottish culture and heritage, and what better way to do that than through a Burns supper? I'm as sorry as all of you that we can't be here in person, but we did have a wondrous evening planned at the Museum of Nature. We need to be safe, and so here we are. We have an awesome and traditional Burns supper planned virtually, complete with all the revelry, speeches, toasts, and entertainments. So let's get at it. Here's to yes. Was like us, gay few, and they're a dead. To the bard.
Thank you, Jane. And next up, it is my great pleasure to welcome Angus Robertson. As a Reed, the Robertsons are, well, part of our clan, I guess. Cabinet Secretary for the Constitution of External Affairs and Culture, Government of Scotland. Mr. Robertson?
On the 25th of January, people around the world celebrate Robert Burns, a tradition that has continued for more than 200 years. This January is a particularly fitting time to mark his legacy as we start Scotland's Year of Stories. The works of Robert Burns are one of our country's most famous export. He told the story of Scotland, its people and values, and his words remain as valid today as they were when he wrote them. But Burns' enduring themes of love and friendship reach far beyond Scotland, speaking to those the world over. His song Auld Lang Syne is a staple of New Year's celebrations. And of course, Burns suppers provide an opportunity for us not just to enjoy the words of our national bard, but the sense of community embodied in them. I've had the pleasure of attending Burns suppers across Scotland, further afield in Austria and Germany, and even virtually during the coronavirus pandemic. It's a testament to Scotland's rich cultural heritage that our national bard continues to enrich lives and bring people together on such a unique international scale. Whether you're addressing the haggis in person this year or raising a cup of kindness in a virtual toast, I hope you find a safe and fitting way to celebrate Robert Burns. Have a very happy Burns night.
I would happily make Angus our clan chief. Our next speaker is a good Scots involved in the community here in the National Capital Region of Canada and beyond, the Honourable Lisa MacLeod, Ontario Minister of Heritage, Tourism, Sport and Culture Industries, and always a good friend to the Scottish Society. Welcome, Minister.
Hi, I'm Lisa MacLeod. I'm Ontario's Minister for Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industries. I'm Nepean's MPP, and I'm a proud Canadian of Scottish descent. As we celebrate our shared ancestry and traditions of our heritage, Highland dancing, pipes and drums, fiddles and singing, and above all, our appreciation of the finest poetry of the old bard, Robbie Burns, virtually this year, I want to thank all who worked hard to ensure this annual event continued, even if we're doing it apart. As Heritage Minister, I'm pleased to announce that my ministry is supporting the Ottawa Scottish Society with this event, the Kilted Skate, and our recent Hogmanay event, with a total of $55,000, the largest funding amount from Ontario for this festival to date. These cultural investments are important in our province as we continue to showcase to the rest of Canada and around the globe that Ontario truly is the world in one province. And that showcase includes important events that mark the significant people and events around the world that have brought us together. So tonight, as we pay tribute to the life of the legendary poet Robbie Burns, his timeless poetry, and what unites us in our history as Scottish Canadians, it's appropriate to fet our dearly departed with his own words. Having never understood his lasting and positive impact over 200 years later. The power that gift would give us to see ourselves as others see us. Perhaps written about an ill-placed louse. Today, may we all celebrate equality, self-awareness, and the humility of the bard.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you to all of our speakers this evening. And now let's move into the dinner itself. Reverend Karen Dimmock will start the supper with the Selkirk Grace. Bruce McQuaig, who pipes with the Ottawa Police Service Pipes and Drums, will pipe in the haggis to the Robbie Burns tune, A Man's a Man. Address to the haggis, which might very well be the most important part of the evening, will be performed by Ron Roach, followed by some entertainments. Ronnie O'Byrne, the Canadian director of the Robbie Burns World Federation, will recite To a Mouse. Bobby Watt, who is a longtime friend of the Scottish Society of Ottawa, will sing the favourite, A Red, Red Rose. And then the Immortal Memory, which is part of the traditional Burns running order, will be delivered by Lieutenant Colonel Gord Scharf, commanding officer of the Cameron Highlanders of Ottawa. And you might notice that Gord, who's also a member of the Burns Planning Committee, is wearing his red serge mess dress. Very sharp. Did you order a haggis or prepare a haggis if you're so inclined? Well, I hope you didn't forget the neeps and tatties, but if you did forget to make or order your haggis already, you might check into the Montgomery Scotch Lounge or the Glen Scottish Bar and Restaurant, who might be able to help you out. There's some information on your screen. Reverend?
Hello, my name is Karen Dimmick, and this evening I'm pleased to bring you greetings on behalf of the congregation at St. Andrew's Church in downtown Ottawa. I'm the minister there, and we are located at the corner of Kent Street and Wellington, right across the street from the Supreme Court. We're one of the oldest Protestant churches in Ottawa. We're Presbyterian, and among our earliest members, almost 200 years ago now, were the very early Scottish settlers in the area that was called Bytown. Our church itself was built by Thomas Mackay, who also built Rideau Hall and who had the contract for the Rideau Canal. Today we enjoy being part of a city that has grown to welcome people from all around the world, a vibrant city where many people come to make their home. The congregation is like that, and as we give thanks for who we have been and where we are today, we also give thanks that we worship and acknowledge that we worship on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Algonquin people. Our congregation, like this gathering today, has been largely online for almost 2 years now. We come together from our homes, not in person, and we give thanks for the ways we do have to stay connected, knowing that doing this is part of how we do show care for each other, how we love and show compassion for the community that we call home. So as we give thanks this evening and join together in this way, I invite you to join with me in saying a grace. It's the Selkirk grace, attributed to Robbie Burns. Let's pray. Some hae meat and canna eat, and some would eat that wanted. But we hae meat and we can eat, and say the Lord be thanked. Amen.
Sonsy face, great chieftain of the puddin' race, a bull na ma ye tak your place, Panch, Tribe, Baron, well are ye worthy of a grace, as lands might erm. This growing trencher here you fill, your herries like a distant hill, your pin would mend the mill in time of deed, and through your pores the dews distill like amber bead. This knife she rustic labour dight, and cut ye up with ready sleight, trenching your gushing entrails bright like ony ditch, and then what a glorious sight, warm, naked, rich. Then, horn for horn they stretch and strive, deal take the hindmost on they drive, until their well-filled swelled belie are bent like drums. The all Gidman Mactarave be naked homes. Is there or his French ragout, or oil with star sou? A fricassee would make her spew, the perfect scunner. Looks down with scornful, sneering view on sick a dinner. Look there o'er his trash, as feckless as a withered rash. His spindled shank a geed whip lash, his need a knit. Or bloody flood and field to dash, oh how unfit. But mark the rustic haggis fed. The trembling earth resounds his tread. Slap in his woolly knee the blade, he'll make it whistle, and legs and arms and head shall snag like tops of bristle. It powers what mak mankind your care, and dish them up their bill of fare. All Scotland wants nae skinking ware that jops in luggies. So if you wish her grateful prayer, gie her a haggis. Ladies and gentlemen, a haggis.
The haggis.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Ottawa. It's great to connect with you tonight from my home down here in Niagara's wine country. As Canadian Director of the Robert Burns World Federation, I'd like to extend fraternal greetings on behalf of our board and president and congratulate the Scottish Society of Ottawa for arranging this virtual celebration of Scotia's Bard. Robert Burns and nature is an interesting theme, as from his early years in Alloway to his later days farming by the River Nith, living and working in rural Scotland provided him with great inspiration. Burns uses nature and the seasons in many of his works, often to set a scene or to indicate to the reader the time of year or the circumstance of the poem. Many of his most loved works fall into this category. From the stormy night of Tam O'Shanter, where the wind bluest what blonnets last, the rattling showers was on the blast, the speedy gleams of darkness swallowed, loud deep and line the thunder bellowed. To the sensitivity of the corn ricks, the sky was blue, the wind was still, the moon was shining clearly. I set her doon wi' richt good will amang the rigs of barley. I kent her heart was all my ain. I loved her maist sincerely. I kissed her, hour and hour again, amang the rigs of barley. I could talk for hours giving example of Burns' strong connection and sensitivity to nature, and to close, I'm going to give you a recitation of a classic Burns poem, To a Mouse, or to give it its full title, To a Mouse on Turning Up Her Nest with the Plough, November 1785. The title of the poem tells you everything you need to know of the event, and Robert's brother Gilbert confirmed that the poem was composed on the same day that Burns bereaved the little mouse of its wee bit hussy. Another farmer may well have looked with detachment at the scampering, frightened scene, but not to the nature-loving Burns. He saw in the mouse a fellow mortal whose suffering he could identify with. Burns' empathy saw the hard work being destroyed as he crashed through the nest with his plough, and now the cowr and timorous beastie would be forced to endure the harsh Scottish winter in LtCol, despite its careful preparations. Those best laid schemes can often go awry. The poem has terrific layers, moving from Scots to English fluidly, but throughout, the empathy and Burns' connection to nature shines through. This is Two Mouse. Wee sleekit, coor and timorous beastie. Oh, what a panic's in thy breastie. Thou needna start a war sae hasty wi' bicker and brattle. I would be laith to run and chase thee wi' murder and battle. I am truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union and justifies that ill opinion that makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. I do know what else but thou may thieve, what then poor beastie thou mun live. A day my knicker in a thieve's a small request. I'll get my blessing with a lave and never miss it. Thy wee bit hussy, two and ruin, its silly was the winds are strewn, and Nathan knew to big and new in a foggage green, and bleak December's winds and shoon, baith snare and keen. Thou saw the fields lay bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, and cosy there beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash the cruel coulter passed out through thy cell. Thy wee bit heap of leaves and stibble has cost thee monies a weary nibble. Now thou's turned out for all thy trouble but house and hold, to thaw the winter sleety dribble and Cranrach cold. But Moussie, thou art know thy lane, in proving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes of mice and men gan after glide, and leave us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared with me. The presence only touches thee, but I backward cast my eye on prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear. Happy Burns Night.
My love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. My love is like melody that's sweetly played in tune. And fear art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my love, till all the seas gang dry, till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt away the sun, and I will love thee still, my dear, till the sands of time have run. But fare thee well, my only love, and fare thee well a while, for I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 miles. like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. My love is like a melody that's sweetly played and tuned. Fear art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my love, till all the seas can dry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to be here with you tonight for this COVID lockdown-inspired, unique Burn Supper in these exceptionally unusual times. As I was preparing my remarks, I couldn't help but think and ask, what is so special about Robert Burns and his works that we are inspired to gather together to honor his memory well over 2 centuries past his death? Well, to me, that question remains a good one given the extraordinary lengths that we are all going to this evening to do exactly that. Tonight, I would like to take a slightly different angle, and in fact, I would like to consider what Burns might have done while coping with the lockdown. First off, he was a farmer from a farming family. This would have shaped him greatly. He would have been used to dealing with adversity. He would have had to develop resilience. He would have had to have endured, and he would have had to have carried on. Like all of us, he would have tried to make the best of it under these extremely trying circumstances. Fortunately, he wasn't the best farmer in the world, so he also spent time pursuing a career as a tax collector, also known as an excise man, disparagingly known as a gouger. A term that resonates as we all think ahead of the fun of doing our taxes in the near future. Clearly, it was less than a popular trade. But this, I believe, demonstrated he had a practical mindset, as well as a side to him that respected the rules. In this instance, and in this job, his practical side probably went out, as he likely was more concerned with a well-paying job that paid the bills. On the other hand, Burns would sometimes hold authority in disdain. This was evidenced by his suspected sympathy for the revolutionaries in France, which likely would not have gone over well in polite company. Even so, in a pandemic environment, I believe he would have adopted to and understood what was needed for the common good, as we all work to get things back to normal, whatever that normal may look like in the future. Now, with regards to Zoom and social media, that's a different story entirely. I believe he likely would have been intrigued by it all initially. In fact, I imagine he would have jumped all over the TikTok bandwagon reciting his poetry, and I believe he would have been enamored with YouTube, likely becoming an influencer, appealing to his fans in search of the valuable like to his videos, and trying to get as many subscribers as he can to his channel. Probably would have been very successful. But, like most of us, its uniqueness and attraction would wear thin as we long for getting back together with friends and family in person. When you consider his body of work, certain themes emerge. One that readily stands out is his great love of nature. This year's theme is just that, as Burns was often thought of as a voice of nature. As a farmer, the lockdown rules would have not have hindered his ability to be outdoors, and this would have allowed him to remain close with nature and likely helped inspire his many poems describing it. One that comes to mind is his popular work To a Mouse, which plays on this theme. However, before I quote it, and to be clear, especially for the benefit of our younger attendees tonight, when Burns wrote To a Mouse, He wasn't romanticizing or referring to a well-known piece of computer hardware. In fact, he was referring to a rodent. The great bard wrote, "I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union, and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle at me, thy poor earthborn companion and fellow mortal." Now, another theme that stands out is Burns as a social animal, which shouldn't be surprising. Burns would most likely have struggled to cope with the loss of social interaction. His obvious enthusiasm for a good party, his zest for life, not to mention his supposed dalliance with the fair sex, all served as inspiration and were the subjects for some of his well-known and well-loved works. Consider this scenario outlined in Tam O'Shanter. But to our tale. Aye, market night. Tam had got planted unco right. Fast by an ingle, bleezing finely, with reaming swats that drank divinely. And at his elbow, Souter Johnny, his ancient, trusty, through the croony. Tam loved him like a vera brother. They had been foe for weeks together. The night drave on with songs and clatter, and aye the ale was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with favours sweet, secret, and precious. The Souter told his queerest stories. The landlord's laugh was ready chorus. The storm without might rare and rustle. Tam didna mind the storm a whistle. So when you consider the scene as described above, it frankly is really hard to imagine the same situation using a webcam monitor and over Zoom. Now, many have had to deal with homeschooling their children during the lockdown. I can almost see the eye rolls and hear the groans from those who've had to endure it. I suspect Burns would have felt the same way. While I'm sure he would have tried to help, I believe he would have likely handed that task off to his wife, Jean Armour. I can imagine she would have been the one to figure out how their 9 children, would keep up with their studies and homework. The lack of room, coping with limited bandwidth, frequent internet outages, and frayed nerves. Did I mention 9 children? However, I can see Burns instead being distracted by the departure of his love, Agnes MacLeod, known to Burns followers as Clorinda. And in fact, her departure to the New World serves as the inspiration for A Fond Kiss. And he wrote, "Had we never loved so kindly, had we never loved so blindly, never met or never parted, we had never been broken-hearted." Now, since we're talking about a lockdown environment, if you think about it, Clorinda likely would have been subject to a travel ban. In fact, she may not have been able to leave at all. And this likely would have changed the course of Burns' life completely. Now, as we can see, Burns would have found some challenges in dealing with a lockdown. However, the question does beg to be asked, are there some things that perhaps might have resonated with him? Looking at his life and getting a measure of the man, there likely would have been a few. As someone who was a proud patriot, he likely would have identified the need for everyone to pull together. He likely would have understood that a concerted national effort was needed to meet not just a national challenge, but in fact a global one. I would also like to think that based on his background, his actions, and his works, he would have understood that COVID, it doesn't care about color. It doesn't care about creed, and it doesn't care about national boundaries. This is a challenge that must be met for everyone if we are to be eventually safe from it. If you think of his words, should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind, should old acquaintance be forgot and auld lang syne. I believe these words articulate that Burns would likely understand the challenges we face with isolation and with the pain of separation from those that we love. even more so if they are suffering an illness, making it difficult for us to be there to help. However, I think Burns would have been optimistic about the future. I think he would look at this and hope that we would persevere, that we would learn from the experience, and hopefully make the world a better place to live in. One where we can hopefully grow and overcome past mindsets, past divisions, and past inequalities. A world in which we have a better understanding, a better appreciation of the things that truly matter. And those are our families, our friends, the beauty of nature, love, and companionship. And he wrote, "Then let us pray that come it may, and come it will for a that sense and worth o'er the earth shall bear the gree and a that. For a that and a that, it's coming yet for a that man to man the world over shall brothers be for a that day will come of that I have no doubt. To all of you, please take care, please stay safe, and above all else, please be kind to each other. I feel confident this is what Robert Burns would want us to do." And now I ask you all to charge your glasses and rise, yes, even those who thought they could get away with dressing only from the waist up for virtual dinner, to drink a toast to the immortal memory of the great bard himself, Robert Burns. Slàinte.
A traditional Burns supper always features entertainments, and the Scottish Society of Ottawa has collected some wonderful dancers, poets, and singers, musicians for your entertainment. We'd like to begin with, well, some fabulous musicians featuring some friends of mine. A Beautiful Song for All Seasons is a set that will be played by the Broken Bridges. This group is made up of sisters Fern and Willow Marwood from Lanark County and Ottawa composer-musician Graham Lindsay. Graham also worked on this production with the Scottish Society of Ottawa as our videographer. He's behind the camera right now, and fantastic partner, so I have to say these things. We'll also see Flora MacDonald's Fancy by dancers Kaylee Armstrong, Chelsea LaPlante, and Lisa Brooke, good friends and excellent dancers from Ottawa, accompanied by piper Bruce McQuaig. Wasn't that fabulous music and dancing? And hopefully you're enjoying a fabulous meal as you watch this. Up next, Christopher Tate. He is the world's leading Robert Burns performer from Edinburgh, and he brings the 18th century poet to life for a truly engaging experience. Here he is with his recitation of To a Louse, and you will never, ever sit on a church pew again without remembering this poem. Christopher?
Where are you going, you crowling fairly? Your impudence protects ye sairly. I canna say but ye strunt rarely our gauze and lace, although faith, I fear ye dine but sparely on sic a place. Ye ugly, creeping, blasted winner, detested, shunned by sont and sinner, how dare ye set your foot upon her, sae fine a lady? Gae somewhere else and seek your dinner on some pear body. Swith, and some beggars hoffet squattle, there ye may creep and sprawl and sprattle, wi' other kindred jumping cattle in shawls and nations, where horn nor bane ne'er door and settle your thick plantations. Now, had ye there, you're out of sight, below the fatrals, snug and tight. Na faith ye yet, you'll nae be right till you've got on it the vera topmost towering height o' Mrs. Bonnet. Oh, my sooth, right bald ye set your nose out, as plump and grey as ony grows it. Oh, for some rank mercurial roset, or fell red smedum, I'd gie ye sic a hearty dose it, would dress your drodum. I wadna been surprised to spy ye owning auld wifey's flainin' toy, or abling some bit duddy boy on's wily coat. But Mrs. Fine Lenardi, ha! How dare ye do it? Oh, Jeannie, dinna toss your heed and set your beauties o' a breed. Ye little ken what cursed speed the blasties makin'. They winks and finger ends I dread, or notice takin'. Oh, wad some power the gift he gie us, to see ourselves as others see us. It wad frae many a blunder free us, and foolish notion, what airs in dress and gait would lee us, and even devotion.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Amazing. Up next, the Broken Bridges will play another set from Away and Whiskey Soup, followed by Ellen McIsaac, who will sing My Heart's in the Highlands and Highland Widow's Lament.
Highlands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Highlands, a chasing the deer, a chasing the wild deer, and following the roe. My heart's in the Highlands, wherever I go. Farewell to the Highlands, farewell to the North, the birthplace of honor, the country of worth. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, the hills of the Highlands, forever I love. My heart's in the Highlands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Highlands, a chasing the deer, a chasing the wild deer, and following the roe. My heart's in the Highlands, wherever I go. Farewell to the mountains I covered with snow. Farewell to the straths and green valleys below. Farewell to the forests and wild hanging woods. Farewell to the torrents and loud pouring floods. My heart's in the Highlands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Highlands, a chasing the deer, a chasing the wild deer, and following the roe. My heart's in the Highlands, wherever I go. Oh, I am come to the low country. Oh, Marie, without a penny in my purse to buy a meal to me. He was not in the Highland hills. Oh, Marie, no woman in the country wide was happy as was me. For then I had a score of kye. Oh, Marie, feeding on yon hill sae high, and casting milk to me. And there I had 30 yow. Oh, skipping on yon bonny nose and casting wool to me. I was the happiest of the clan. Sir, may I repine, for Donald was the broadest man, and Donald, he was mine. Till Charlie Stewart came at last, sae far to set us free. My Donald's arm was wanted then, for Scotland and for me. Then woeful fate, what need I tell? right to the wrong did yield. MacDonald and his country fell upon Culloden's field. Oh, I am come to the low country, oh, Marie, without a penny in my purse to buy a meal to me.
Thank you to all of our performers. Now we move into the toasts. Across the world, these very same toasts are being performed by folks from all over the Scottish diaspora with friends and family. This is the beauty of a Burns supper. We somehow persuaded 2 Ottawa City Councillors to perform these honours, and they have stepped up big time. To the Lassies, Councillor Matthew Luloff. Orleans Ward, City of Ottawa, will give the toast to the Lassies. And listen up, I hear this original toast is a poem he penned himself. Matthew?
Good evening. I am Matt Luloff. This is Glengoyne 21, and this is our toast to the Lassies. To the Scottish Society who has invited me, my kindest regards, as it has delighted me to join you tonight to provide a toast, so thank you to our Highland hosts. But the subject upon which I am to address is the matter of the fairer sex, though it always seems to have me befuddled if they are indeed fair when I am in trouble. You see, I am a father of 2 young ladies, and I am married to one who gave me these babies. And I grew up with 4 younger sisters on top, so my accumulation of experience simply will not stop. Now, I'm not one who would have trembled with joy for merely having conceived a boy, and I really don't mind living with all these broads as long as I get some love from my dogs. Now, all kidding aside, I'm not starved for affection. My dogs really give a loving reception. And I get to think about what I might have said when I'm curled up with them, snug in their bed. The women in my life are really quite lovely, though the younger ones treat me quite roughly, and my wife is so firm in dropping her clues of all the things that she expects me to do. All of these ladies are absolute keepers and are certainly all natural-born leaders. It's easy to see as they can always be found looking for new ways to boss me around. I love reading them books about how they'll go far, though they will still need me to open a jar, and I can imagine it'll be quite a feat when they realize a stepladder renders me obsolete. Women are funny and brilliant and smart. They are everything that tug at my heart, and I really do find it sweet that they can never decide on a place to eat. I'm only kidding, but don't get me started on all the lies about who may have farted. But every time all 3 will agree that positively surely it must have been me. But it often isn't. To that I swear. And why is everything covered in hair? It's in the shower and on the floors. I've even found some stuck to the doors. There are some things I wish I'd never learned, like how to braid hair on a doll with a perm, or all the lyrics to Disney princess songs that drill a hole in my brain all day long. Oh, how I can't wait for them to outgrow a whole new world and let it go. And I have learned how to just make a noise instead of swearing when I step on their toys. My dad had a saying that wasn't too nice, and maybe that's why he's been married twice. He'd say, happy wife makes a happy life, but it cuts both ways, that tacky knife. What I have learned to great effect is that happiness comes from mutual respect, and the only way to handle life's pressures is to be a team and stick together. So even if we grunt and we groan, and oftentimes we'd rather be left alone, my wife is definitely my better half, or better 2/3 if she's doing the math. To the ladies, to the lassies.
Thank you, Matthew. It was an honor. Beautiful. The pipes and drums of the Cameron Highlanders will play a set of marches next, and the dancers will perform the Chanteuse. Thank you for the dance and the marches. Up next, the reply to the Toast to the Lassies by Councillor Laura Dudas. Innes Ward, City of Ottawa, she has prepared the reply to the toast. Wait for it, ladies. Here it comes.
A toast to the lassies deserves a response to the laddies, and I am so incredibly honored to deliver this reply on behalf of all my fellow, strong, intelligent, and lovely lassies. To the Scottish Society, I thank you profusely for including me in a tradition so heavily steeped in wit and banter and whiskey. First, a lift of my glass to my friend and colleague Matt, whose toast to us lassies did not fall flat. However, there are points that arose that require retort, like the subtlety of the clues that we drop, or the implied mention that we fart? As to the comment from my colleague of our wayward locks on doors and on floors and on the bottom of your socks, well, to that I would say we do find it quite sweet how men can never quite figure out how to put down the seat. And the situation gets worse after you've had a dram of whiskey, after which entering the bathroom can be considered quite risky. To the comment about owning up to one's toots, I sometimes suspect the menfolk are all in cahoots, because when a group of men are together, it's clear that the accumulation of clouds is not due to the weather. And why does it always seem that you're in the mood after we've spent a long day taking care of the brood? But I jest, because who's getting whom? As lassies have been doing most of the work since the kids emerged from the womb. Which is why I was quite keen to discover the ploughman poet himself was 12 times a father. The joys of children were nay lost on him, or quite possibly it was more in the making of them. As a mom of 2 girls, it was with much joy that my third little one turned out to be a boy. And not because I cared about the gender, more that I wanted to understand a bit better. Why is it that laddies refuse to ask for directions, or wax on poetic about their fantasy football selections? Why do they boast about their work labors, or exhibit such a fascination with the size of their cabers? Or when tasked with making dinner, it's not haggis, tatties, and neeps served hot, but rather what skip the dishes meal can be bought. We all know it was the great bard that said the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry, since certainly to the decisions made by women, this does not apply. As a descendant of Scots on my mom's side, I teach all of my children about what it means to have pride in the history of our people, our country, and our roots. Which is why my family never fails to celebrate Robbie Burns on the day in his honour, a lad whose way with verse made him Scotland's national father. And while we like to poke fun as your beloved wives, we lassies know how happy you make our lives. For if it weren't for you, we would have no one to roast, which is why I now ask that we raise our glasses in a toast. To all the fine laddies who bring us joy and make us complete, we toast you, we love you, and please, please remember to lower that seat. To the laddies.
Now, if you haven't started your dessert already, now is the time, since this is the sweet part of the program, and it's also where it should be accompanied by a wee dram of whiskey, so get your scotch out. Bobby Watt is now going to perform A Man's a Man for All of That, a famous Robbie Burns song, followed by Michael Yellowlees, who will perform A Fond Kiss. Michael and Luna kept us enthralled with a rewilding journey all summer as they walked across Canada from Tofino, BC to Cape Spear, Newfoundland to raise money for reforestation in Scotland, and they stole a piece of our hearts when they stopped in Ottawa.
Is there for honest poverty that hangs his feet, and all that the coward slave we pass him by, we dare be poor for all that, and all that, our fares obscure, and all that, the rank is but the guinea stand, the man's the couch for all that. And what go on him the very time, queer and grey and all that. He pulls their silks and knaves their wine, a man's a man for all that. For all that and all that, their tinsel show and all that. The honest man, though halfsy poor, is king of men for all that. You see on Bucky God a lot, lost struts and stairs and all that. Though hundreds worship at his work, he's but a tooth for all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star and all that. The man of independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. A prince can make a belted knight, a marquis duke, and all that. But an honest man, upon his might, get faith your man for that. For all that and all that, their dignity and all that. The fickle sense and pride over a higher rank than all that. Then let us pray that come at me as come it will for all that. That sense and worth for all the earth may bear the grief for all that. For all that and all that, it's coming yet for all that. That man to man, the world out, shall brothers be for all that. For all that and all that, it's coming yet for all that. That man to man, the world out, shall brothers be for all that.
A fond kiss, and then we'll sever. A farewell, alas, forever. Deep in the heart run tears, I'll pledge thee. Warring sighs and groans, I'll wage thee. Who shall say that fortune grieves him? While the star of hope she leaves him, meaning cheerful twinkle lights me. Dark despair around benights me. I'll dare blame my partial fancy. Nothing can resist me, Nancy, for to see her was to love her. Love but her in love forever. Had we never loved so kindly, had we never nor never met, nor never parted. We'd never been so broken hearted. So fare thee well, my first and fairest, and fare thee well, my best and dearest. Thine be all God, joy and treasure, peace, enjoyment, love and pleasure. So a fond kiss and then sever. A farewell, alas, forever. Deep in heart run tears, I'll pledge thee. Warring sighs and groans, I'll wage thee. Warring sighs and groans, I'll wage thee.
Up next, back to the Broken Bridges, who will perform the set Before My Time, accompanied by dancers Kaylee Armstrong, Chelsea LaPlante, and Lisa Brooks. Take it away. Thanks, folks. And you'll notice that much of this filming took place in the same location. That's at The Barn in Alexandria. The Scottish Society of Ottawa would like to thank Liz and Brian Cadell for their hospitality, especially during these extreme and necessary COVID precautions. Up next, Siobhan Miller, straight from Glasgow, performs May Morning Dew. Siobhan is a Scottish folk singer and 3-time winner of Best Singer at the Scots Trad Music Awards.
How pleasant in a winter to sit by the hearth, listening to the barks and the howls of a dog, or in summer to wander the wide valleys through, and to pluck the wild flowers in the May morning dew. Summer is coming, oh summer is here, with the leaves on the trees and the skies blue and clear, and the birds they are singing their fond notes so true, and the flowers they are springing in the May morning dew. The house I was reared in, there's not a stone on a stone, and all around the garden the weeds they have grown, and all the fine neighbours that e'er I knew, like the red rose they have withered in the May morning dew. God be with the old folk who are now dead and gone, and likewise my brothers, dear Dennis and Joe, as they trip through the heather, wild hare to pursue, with their joys they have mingled in the May morning dew.
Up next, Anna Ludlow. She's an acclaimed Capital Music Awards winner, originally from Antigonish, Nova Scotia, but now we can proudly call her Ottawa's own. She's going to play a lovely set, accompanied by Graham Lindsay, including Eva's Tune, The Hog's Purse, The Sailor's Wife, the Lisnagun Jig, and Jackie Coleman's Reel to finish off our entertainments for the evening. Well, now that you're all warmed up from the entertainment, the suppers, and probably a wee bit of whiskey, and all the charm, of course, of the evening, it's time for you to participate. The chairman, Jane Torrance, will give the vote of thanks. The Cameron Highlanders will play Old Lang Syne, followed by Ellen McIsaac singing, and you can join in from your living room, your kitchen, wherever you're hanging out. And if there's anybody else in the room, make sure that you cross arms. And after you've crossed arms, this will mark the end of the formal supper, but the after-ceilidh will begin with the county lads straight out of Glengarry County, playing a full fun set to get you dancing, and lots of folks might enjoy another whiskey or a cup of tea or a shortbread during this part of the evening. And for those who just want to stay for half of the night, Christopher Tate will perform an excellent rendition of Tam O'Shanter after the credits play. Please become a donor if you enjoyed this evening. The volunteers at the Scottish Society of Ottawa work hard to bring this all together, but so do the musicians and the technical crew, and they all need to get paid. So it's time to pay the piper, I guess you could say. So from me and all of your friends in the Scottish Society, and from all Scots everywhere, have a good night, bonne soirée, miigwech, marshanlat.
Wasn't that wonderful? Many thanks to all Tapalat for making this such a wonderful evening. A massive, massive shout out to the Burns director, Jen Hill, and her committee. This was Jen's first year as a director, and she has done an amazing job. The Scottish Society thanks you, as always, for supporting the work we do. Safe travels now. Slanchava. Good night.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. And I'll take my pint to stop, and surely I'll be mine. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. We twa run about the braes and pull the gowans fine, and many wandered a weary fit sin old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for old lang syne. We twa paddled in the burn from morning sun till dawn, but the seas between us spread herod sin old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for old lang syne. And gives a hand, I trusty fear, and gives a hand o' thine, and we'll take a right good willy wat and old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for old lang syne.
I'd like to wish all you folks a wonderful Robbie Burns Day. This first tune of ours, it's a medley of about 5 songs or so. And I'd like to dedicate to a fellow musician recently passed named Jerry O'Neill. We're gonna the Canlas, everybody. We got Hamish McDonald on the fiddle, he's my little brother. We got Joe Vanacrow on the drums, and all the From boys on the bass, and I'm Alec McDonald. We're gonna slow it down a bit for you guys. So here's a tune called Juxtapose. My name is Juxtapose. I'm a county gunman, a rough young fellow I've been. So be easy and free when you drink and with me. I'm a man you down to meet every day. Because of love, I'm a man at command. I've always a shilling to spare. So be easy and free when you drink and with me. I'm a man you're down to meet every day. Take it. So fill up your glasses with brandy and wine. Whatever it costs, I will pay. So be easy and free when you drink and with me. I'm a man you're down to meet every day. Took out me dog and been mine to shoot down in the county Kildare. So be easy and free when you drink and with me. I'm a man you don't meet every day. All my name is Juxtapose. I'm a county gunman. Hey, rough young fellow I've been. So be easy and free when you drink and with me. I'm a man you don't meet every day. So be easy and free when you drink and with me. I'm a man you don't meet every day. Hey! much up, everybody. The next tune we're going to do is a song by a Scottish band called the Proclaimers. Here's about 500 miles for you folks. When I wake up, yeah, you know I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, you know I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the man who's going out with you. And if I get drunk, yeah, you know I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the man who gets drunk next to you. And if we heave out, yeah, you know I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the man who's sitting next to you. Every single penny on you. When we grow, yeah, you know I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the man who's going on to you. When we grow, yeah, you know I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the man who's going on with you. And now I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks up miles to fall down at your door. When I'm lonely, yeah, you know I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the man who's lonely without you. When I'm dreaming, yeah, you know I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the man who's dreaming about you. And I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. And I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. By yon bonny path, by yon bonny breeze, the sun shines bright on Loch Lomond. There me and my true love shall never meet again on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. For you take the high road, and I'll take the low road, and I'll be Scotland before day. For me and my true love shall never meet again on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. 'Twas there where we parted in yon shady glen, on song of Finloman, we're in purple hue, the Highland hills of you, and the moon coming out in the gloaming. For you'll take the high road, and I'll take the low road, and I'll be Scotland, be Fowley. For me and my true love shall never meet again on the bonny banks of Loch Lomond. I'm a weaver, a Calton a weaver, I'm a rush, here openly. I silver, a linen by pouches, gaiety, they rove on away, singing whiskey, whiskey, and Nancy whiskey, 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 and Nancy, ooh. Whiskey, whiskey, and Nancy whiskey, 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 and Nancy, oh. The more I kissed her, the more I loved her. The more I kissed her, the more she smiled. I forgot my mother's teacher, Nancy whiskey and me beguiled, singing whiskey, whiskey and Nancy whiskey, whiskey, whiskey and Nancy, ooh. Whiskey, whiskey and Nancy whiskey, whiskey, whiskey and Nancy, oh. That's the key by Glasgow City, Nancy whiskey, a chance to smell. I walked in, sat down beside her. 7 long years I've loved her well, singing whiskey, whiskey, and Nancy whiskey, 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 and Nancy, ooh. Whiskey, whiskey, and Nancy whiskey, 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 and Nancy, oh. We got one more tune for you guys tonight. Again, happy Roy Burns Day, and again we're the kind of lads. I got Hamish on the fiddle, Joe on the drums, Nolan on the bass, and I'm Alec. This next tune, it's called Ordinary Day, but really it's an extraordinary day, and we're here to celebrate one man, so.
Now got 4 walls around me. I got the sun in the sky and the water surrounds me. I know, yeah, I win, but now sometimes I lose. I've been battered, but I never bruise. That's not so great. And I say, wait, it's just an ordinary day. And it's all your state of mind. At the end of the day, you just gotta say it's alright. It's alright, it's alright.
keeps her from dying. It's not what she wants to try. I know she may stumble if they push her around. She'll get up, she'll never lie down. It's not so bad. And I say, it's just an ordinary day, and it's all your state of mind. At the end of the day, you just gotta say it's alright. It's alright, it's alright. It's alright. Beautiful life, there's always some sorrow. It's a double-edged knife, but there's always tomorrow. I know it's up to you now. If you sink or swim, just keep the faith. Your ship will come, and it's not so bad. And I say, it's just an ordinary day, and it's all your state of mind. And at the end of the day, you just gotta say it's alright. It's alright, it's alright. It's got a smile on my face, and I've got four walls around me.
During the summer of 1789, when I was 30 years of age, I was introduced to one Captain Francis Grose, and, well, took to him at once. Fat and jovial, Grose lived up to his name perfectly, with an inexhaustible fund of humour and a passion for antiquities. Well, in seeing a further chance to spread the fame of my native shire, I suggested to him that he include an illustration of Alloway Kirk in his new book. He agreed. "Providing, Robert," he said, "that you furnish me with a poem to be printed alongside." The result was my most famous tale of ghosts and witches, Tam O'Shanter. When Chapman billies leave the street, and drouthy neighbours meet, as market days are wearing late, and folk begin to tack the gate, while we sit boozing at the nappy, and getting fou and unca happy. We think now on the lang Scots miles, the mosses, waters, slaps and stiles that lie between us and our hame, where sits our sulky, sullen dame, gathering her brow like a gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth fand honest Tam O'Shanter, as he for airy nicht did canter, all there when there a tune surpasses, for honest men and bonny lasses. Ah, Tam, hadst thou but been sae wise, as ta'en thine wife Kate's advice, she told thee weel thou was a scalum, a blatherin, blusterin, drunken blailum, that frae November till October, ye market day thou wasna sober, that ilka melder wi' the miller, thou sat as lang as thou had siller, that every nag was cad a shoe on, the smith and thee got roaring fou on, that at the Lord's house, even on Sunday, thou drank wi' Kirkton gin till Monday. She prophesied that late or soon thou would be found deep drowned in doon, or catch wi' warlocks in the murk by Alloway's old haunted kirk. Ah, gentle dames, it gars me greet to think how many counsels sweet, how many lengthened sage advices the husband, fra the wife despises. Oh! But to our tale. Ye merk it nicht, Tam had got planted, uncaricht, fast by Ningle, bleezing finely, Raymond Swats the drank divinely, and at his elbow Suitor Johnny, his ancient, trusty, drouthy crony. Tam looed him like a very brother. Ach, they had been fou for weeks together. The nicht driv on wi' sangs and clatter, and aye the ale was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with favours secret, sweet and precious. The suitor told his queerest stories. The landlord's laugh was ready chorus. The crickets joined the chirp and cry. The kittlin chased her tail for joy. The storm without micht rear and rustle. Tam didna wise a storm a whistle. Care, mad to see a man sae happy, e'en drowned himsel amang the nappy. As bees fly hame wi' lades o' treasure, the minutes winged their way wi' pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, or all the ills o' life. Ah, victorious. But pleasures are like poppies spread. You sees the flower its bloom is shed, or like the snow falls in a river, a moment white, then melts forever. Or like the borealis race that flit ere you can point their place, or like the rainbow's lovely form, vanishing amidst the storm. Nae man can tether time nor tide. The hour approaches, Tam mun ride. That hour, o' nicht's black arch the keisty knit, dreary hour he mounts his beastin', and sick a night he taks a rodin', as ne'er pair sinner was abroadin'. The wind blew as 'twad blown its last, the rattling showers rose on the blast, the speedy gleams the darkness swallowed, loud, deep and lang the thunder bellowed, that nicht a child might understand. The deil had business on his hands. Oh, oh, oh. Will mounted on his grey mare Meg, a better never lifted leg, Tam skelpit on through dub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst hadden fast his good blue bonnet, whilst wearing arse and old Scots on it, whiles glowering round wi' prudent cares, lest bogles catch him unawares. Kirkalloway was drawn nigh, where ghasts and hoolits snichtly cry. By this time he was crossed the ford, where in the snow the chapman smored, and past the birks and meikle stane, where drunken Charlie braks neck bane, and through the winds and by the cairn, where hunters fand the murdered bairn, and by the thorn, aboon the well, where Mungo's mother hanged herself. Before him doon pours all his floods, the Dublin storm roars through the woods, the lightnings flash from pole to pole, near and more near the thunders roll. when, glimmering through the groaning trees, Kirkalloway seemed in a blaze. Through ilka bore the beams were glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Oof, inspiring bold John Barleycorn, what dangers thou canst make us scorn. Ach, we tippany, we fear nae evil, we uskebe will face the devil. Aye, the swats say reamed in Tammy's noddle. Fair play, he carna deals a boddle, but Maggie stood recht sair astonished, till by the heel and hand admonished, she ventured forward on the licht, and whoa, Tam saw an uncasicht. Warlocks and witches in a dance, naked Tion bright new fi France, but hornpipes, jigs, strathspeys and reels put life and metal in their heels. A winnock bunker in the east, there sat Auld Nick and shape-o beast, a towsy tyke, black, grim and large, to gie them music was his charge. He screwed the pipes and got them skirl till roof and rafters all the dirl. Coffins stood round like open presses that showed the dead in their last dresses, and by some devilish cantrip slicht, each in its cold hand held a licht. The torches climb around the wall, infernal fires, blue bleeze and all. By which heroic Tam was able to note upon the haly table a murderer's banes and gibbet airns, twa span lang wee and christened bairns, a thief new cutted frae a rape, wi' his last gasp his gab did gape. 5 tomahawks wi' blood red rusted, 5 scimitars wi' murder crusted, 7 gallow pins, 3 hangman's whittles, a raw, whale-sealed doctor's bottles, a garter which a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled, whom his ain son o' life bereft, the grey hairs yet stuck to the heft, were mair a horrible and offer, which even to name would be unlawful. 3 lawyers' tongues, turned inside out, wi' lies, seemed like a beggar's clout. 3 priest hearts rotten black as muck, lay stinking, vile, in every nuck. As Tammy glowered, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The piper loud and louder blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew. They railed, they set, they crossed, they click it, till ilka carlin swat and reek it, and coosed her daddies to the wark, and linket at it in her sark. Now Tam, Tam, had they been queens, plump and strappin' in their teens, their sarks, instead o' creasy flannin, been snow white 1700 linen. Their breeks o' mine, my only pair, that 12 yints were plush a good brown hair, I wad ha gi'en them off my hardies for a blink o' yon bonny birdies. But withered beldams, auld and droll, rugwoody hags would speen a foal, loupin' and flingin' on a crummock. I wonder, didna turn thy stomach. But Tam kent whit was whit through Brawley. There was a winsome wench on Wally. That night, enlisted to the core, lang after Kent on Carrick shore. For mony a beast to dead she shot, and perished mony a bonny boat, and shook baith meikle corn and beer, and held the countryside in fear. Her kitty sark, o' Paisley Harn, that while a lassie she had worn, in longitude, though sorely scanty, 'twas her best, and she was vaunty. Ach, little Kent, her reverent granny, that sark she bought for her wee nanny, wi' 2 pund Scots, 'twas a' riches, but ever graced a dance o' witches. Ach, but hear my moos, her wing maun cower, sic flights are far beyond her power, to sing how Nanny lap and flang, a supple jade she was and strang, and how Tam stood like ane bewitched, and thought his very een enriched. Even Satan glowered and fidged fu fain, and hotched and blew wi' micht amain, till first he keep her side another, Tammy tint his reason altogether, and roars out, "Well done, Cuddy Sark!" And in an instant, all was dark. And little had he Maggie rallied when out the hellish legion sallied,
as bees bazoot with angry fight when plundering herds a sailor bike, as open pussy's mortal foes when pop she starts before their nose, as eager runs a market crowd when catch the thief resounds aloud. So Maggie runs, the witches follow, where money elders screech and hollow. A tam, they'll get thy parent, and hell will roast you like a herring. In vain thy Kate awaits thy coming, Kate soon will be a woeful woman. Now, day thy speedy utmost meg, and win the keys to know the brig. There at them thou thy tail may toss, a running stream they darena cross. But ere the keystone she could make, the faint a tail she had to shake. For Nanny, far before the rest, hard upon noble Maggie pressed, and flew at Tam with furious ettle. But little wist she Maggie's mettle, a spring brought off her master hail, but left behind her ain grey tail. The carlin caught her by the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now, wha this tale o' truth shall read, ilk man and mother's son tak heed, whene'er to drink ye are inclined, or cutty sarks run in your mind. Think ye may buy the joys o'er dear, remember Tam O'Shanter's mare.